Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I restored this stained glass piece. So I made this about 10 years ago and the copper foil needed some restoring. So I took it apart and I filmed the process. So I used a broken wine glass, and then this piece was broken bottles, and then I used some stained glass, copper foiled everything and soldered it together. And yeah, I just needed to restore it, and I filmed the process, and I hope you enjoy watching it. And here's the piece on my windowsill. Sorry about the background noise. My son is playing his game with his friends. I'm cleaning the glass, just making sure there are no grease, and also checking around to see where the damaged areas are. Here I am using some Flux, which helps to clean and prepare the metal copper foil for soldering, ensuring that it creates a strong and even bond. I'm using it to weaken the solder so I could remove the pieces that are broken. It helps the solder to flow a bit better. I'm still checking the areas that are a bit shaky to know which parts to remove. So here I'm trying the soldering iron without the flux to try and remove the solder, but it just would not budge. So I need the flux to weaken the solder so I'll be able to remove it easily. Please try and wear gloves when using the soldering iron to protect your hands. Here I didn't have any gloves, but I am being very careful when using the soldering iron. It's very hot. I'm trying to remove the piece. This process took quite a while, trying to reheat the areas that needed to be removed. Also, excuse my voice. I think I'm getting a cold, and also I'm trying to record this video early in the morning whilst my son is at school because he can be so noisy, as you can tell from the beginning of the video. So this is my quiet time early in the morning, and I've got a cold. To remove the bottom part of the wine glass. It's the main piece that's holding everything together. Whilst removing everything, I'm also trying to remember where I had originally placed all the pieces before soldering, because I wanted to recreate the piece exactly as it was from the start. I'm holding the soldering iron at the top, so the solder can run down onto the newspaper. It helps remove the solder a bit better when it flows downwards. I'm using the metal wire to clean the grease and stains and dirt from the glass that has built up over the years. I'm being very gentle not to scratch the glass. You can also use steel wool, but I like to use what I have at home. I really like recycling and just making do with what I've got around. This process is going to just revamp the overall look of the piece. Just cleaning everything before I put it all back together. Just using some kitchen roll just to dry out all the water. So I am removing the glass in sections, just taking my time to remove the areas I want to repair. I had put some lead around to structure the final piece. So here you see some lead and the copper foil hanging off. I have managed to remove all the pieces that I want to remove, and I am now in the process of copper foiling. So copper foil is a thin piece of copper used to wrap around each piece of glass before it can be soldered together. Copper foil comes in different widths and sizes, and at the moment I've only got a thin copper foil and the glass is quite thick, so I am doing lots of layers of the copper foil to cover the thickness of the glass. It's very versatile and malleable. It's a tape, so you can apply different layers, making sure all the areas are covered before you can solder it. This tool I'm using is called a fid, and it's used to remove all the bubbles and creases from the copper foil, so it's really smooth. Copper foil is very important. So basically the strength of your stained glass piece is determined how secure you have applied your copper foil tape. So making sure there are no grease on your hands before you start copper foiling. Make sure you wash your hands. Don't use any hand cream, as that can affect um, the copper foiling if there's oils on your piece. Um, the inside of the copper foil has a sticky side, and I'm trying not to touch the inside of the sticky side. It weakens the adhesive. So as my glass is quite thick, I think this glass is about 4 mils. So I am overlapping the copper foil, making sure I've got enough on both sides. Um, just making use of the thin copper foil tape that I've got at home instead of going out and buying a thicker one. It's fine to do it this way, and I've always done it like this. I'm pressing the glass against the table, which helps with putting on enough pressure whilst copper foiling. I am using black copper foil tape um, for copper foiling. Copper foil comes in three different colors, black, silver, and copper. It only really matters if you are using clear glass. You can actually see through which color copper foil I am using. I am using the black copper foil because once I finish soldering, I'm going to patina the overall piece to black, which would match my copper foil tape. As I'm copper foiling, I'm following the shape and the thickness of the glass that I'm using. This glass is actually a bottle that I broke, so it's very thick to copper foil. So the aim is to make sure you have enough copper foil all the way around, and also making sure it is stuck down properly before you can solder your piece together. So if your copper foil tape is not secure, then your final work will not be secure and your piece will actually fall apart, and you don't want that. So really spend time um, securing your copper foil tape for your piece to be nice and strong. So I'm now going to copper foil the wine glass. So as you can see, it's a broken glass and it's very irregular shape. So I'm just going around following the shape, making sure there's enough copper foil on both sides. Copper foil is very flexible and is great for 3D projects, which is why it's used instead of lead for 3D work. So I'm going to go around doing several layers until I'm happy, making sure there's enough on both sides. So when I come to solder, it will be nice and strong. I have applied several layers of copper foil tape around the glass, and now again using the fid to smooth down the tape, so getting rid of as much creases and air bubbles, making sure it's nice and smooth to the glass. So I would spend a bit of time with this process. As I'm doing this, if I can see that there are not enough copper foil tape in any areas, you can just use a scissors, cut some more copper foil and add to your piece. I'm also using my finger. I'm just checking to see if there's any copper foil tape that sort of lifted up. So if it's lifted up, I would use my fid to press it down. So again, I have cleaned this area of stained glass that I don't want to dismantle, as some of the areas are quite secure. It was just that particular area I needed to recopper foil. So again, I'm wrapping the tape around the piece. So I lost some of the footage during the soldering process when I put everything together. My phone ran out of storage, and yeah, I lost some of the videos. But here you see I have resoldered all the pieces back together, and I'm using some lead edging around. I've copper for the glass, and I'm just positioning the lead um, to see where I want it, and then I would solder this around the edge of the ornament. I realized that this area was a bit greasy, so I'm removing the copper foil and cleaning the area, so I could re-copper foil after I have removed all the grease. Otherwise, this will be a problem if the copper foil is not secure properly. I'll be using a patina to change the color of the solder line from silver to black. So the patina is a chemical solution used to create a blackened finish on various metals. It gives the piece an age darkened appearance. As I mentioned before, it's usually good to wear some plastic rubber gloves. I didn't have any at the time, but I'm not actually touching the patina. I'm using a brush and I'll thoroughly wash my hands afterwards. I've been using this for years. I haven't had any problems with it, and I really like the darkened look. So I've got one side of the piece patinaed, and as I'm working, I am cleaning some areas that have grease around. So some areas that are a bit sharp with the solder, I would use a soldering iron to smooth it out. But also I tend to use a nail file, an emery board to smooth down areas that are too sharp, making the piece safe and smooth. So just using the soldering iron to smooth down any sharp solder blobs. When I'm working, I like to feel the areas to get it nice and smooth. Um, I just really get into a zone where I'm just so engrossed in my creativity, and it's just interesting watching myself back, how I work, and how particular I am, um, the way I do certain things. Okay, I have washed the other side that I have soldered, removing all the flux and grease from the piece. I am using just a kitchen towel um, to dry off all the water, and I will now reapply some more patina to the other side to make the whole piece black. So all the solder lines that are silver will be turned black. I wasn't happy with um, how clean the ornament was, so I put the piece again in the sink, giving it a good wash, just removing, um, lots of dirt and chemicals, and I would then um, patina it. Okay, so here's the piece I have patinaed. I've allowed it to sit for about 5 minutes. I am now washing the patina after allowing it to sit for about 5 minutes. I'm using um, just like a toothpick or a barbecue skewer stick just to clean off any grease around near the copper foil. It's quite sharp, pointy, so you can get really close. Thanks for watching my process, and I hope to see you in my next video.